Today I wanted to do a video covering both Zebec and Onyxcoin because these are two coins that I've started covering recently on the channel that appear to maybe have started to diverge in their outcomes a little bit. Now, of course, this is all just preliminary information. Things can change in the drop of a hat, on a dime, all this type of stuff within the world of crypto. And so I'm not giving any declaratory statements of what's actually happening. It's just, it seems that this is kind of the first part at which we're starting to see the paths of these coins diverge. If you are here just looking for one or the other, you can check the timeline tags in the description or on the timeline below, and you can go and skip to the parts that you want to see. But I would recommend you following along with this whole video just because I do think we are going to uncover some pretty interesting things, kind of contrasting the two different coins between each other. So without any further ado, let's go on ahead and let's check out kind of what we're looking at this week. And overall, we can see that it is still a pretty difficult altcoin market. I say all of this to kind of preface what we're about to get into with both Onyxcoin as well as Zebec. We can see here on the day, the week, as well as the month, it's been a pretty rough time. We can see here Bonk being the one that's kind of the biggest winner here. For those of you who are not familiar, Bonk has launched its Bonk Launchpad. I believe it has actually swapped Pump.Fun as well as kind of like the highest volume launchpad. So Bonk has been doing quite well, and there's been a lot of different Bonk coins doing quite well. I do think if we get into some sort of alt season or more alt favorable environment, this could be really, really good both for Bonk coin as well as all of the like Bonk ecosystem. So this is something that I'm keeping a very, very close eye on. But going back to Onyxcoin and Zebec, we can see that it's generally, other than maybe Bonk, not quite the best environment for altcoins. We can see, strangely enough though, we have actually popped outside of Bitcoin season and we are now kind of in this middle zone. We're still, of course, like we've been very, very heavily into Bitcoin season basically since the beginning of March. We've kind of popped out here and there at a couple different points, never actually seeing a sustained run. So maybe this could be the point at which we do see a bit more of a sustained run to the upside. But at least for right now, we're not really seeing that that's the case at all. And we can kind of see just there's kind of exactly that going on with both of these coins. We can see Onyxcoin, not really too much going on over the past several days here. They're actually just doing their Zeely their Zeely program. They've been reimbursing gas fees for voting for Onyxcoin, all of this type of stuff. Nothing really too earth-shattering in terms of actual news here. And with that, we're kind of seeing Onyxcoin doing what Onyxcoin has been doing. This has been a structure we've been tracking for weeks now. And if we wait for this to load up, we can see exactly this right here. Really, really, really kind of strong and well-defined wedge showing up here. Now we are kind of pushing toward the bottom here. As I have mentioned several times in the various videos that we have been discussing Onyxcoin, we have been waiting for this to kind of play out. And at this point in time, it looks like about mid-July is kind of where we would come to the very tip of this point here. So this is not going to last forever, at least as far as the structure is concerned. We might see a breakup, we might see a breakdown, we might not see anything. Who knows, right? It is crypto, and anybody who is telling you definitively what is going to happen is lying to you. So this is the point at which we just kind of have to see what happens here. Usually when we see this strong level of consolidation, we do see some level of break. Could be a break up, could be a breakdown. Generally, these do lead toward breaks to the upside. However, given the more kind of neutral to bearish market sentiment that we have with altcoins, if we did see a break, I find it hard to believe, that we would see too much of a sustained run to the upside unless we start to see some sort of more like limited alt or more expanded alt rotation. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now with Onyxcoin. If you are interested in trading Onyxcoin or Zebec for that matter, you can use my link in the description below to BTCC. They do both spot as well as futures trading if you are interested. No KYC or VPN needed if you are interested. Also, up to 10% bonuses on first-time deposits, as well as up to $10,055 in trading and deposit bonuses in addition to that. So they're definitely willing to throw you a decent chunk of money to start trading. Also, if you are interested, I do have the link to BloFin as well if for whatever reason you're looking for another option. Now, moving along, I wanted to talk about Zebec because we're seeing a couple of different things. It's kind of a tale of two projects here. So the first one is obviously Onyxcoin. Not really a whole lot happening. I think a lot we're actually waiting to see kind of that what happens at the end of this wedge we've been forming. With Zebec, we've actually seen some pretty strong announcements here. They do have this Zebec ecosystem spaces coming up. This is going to be the roadmap in the super app. This is coming out in 2 days from now. So if you are interested and you are following back, or if you're following Zebec closely, I would say you definitely want to stay tuned and want to get joined in for this, because this could be a pretty interesting announcement of kind of what they're planning to do with their super app and all this type of stuff. So it's going to be this Wednesday, as I mentioned, at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do the math for wherever you are in the world. I'm not sure exactly when that would be for everybody watching individually, but so that is essentially kind of the positive news for the week. We have also seen a decent bit of negative news for the week. There have been some allegations coming out that, well, one, there was the audit. They had a critical vulnerability that was acknowledged within the audit. And so that was something that, I think caused some panic among people. This is usually, especially for early projects, not the end of the world. However, it does depend on what that critical vulnerability is. We don't have much clarity there, at least at this point. I haven't looked close enough in to see it. But this is something that, it can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, or I guess it can also just be a thing too. It's not anything too crazy overall. But that is something that, I think has sown a little bit of FUD, in addition to that there's been, whether this is an organized smear campaign or true or not, I'm not here to make determinations on what this is exactly. This is just kind of me making this known to any of you who may not already be aware. But there has been some FUD spreading around that the founder of the Zebec Network was related to Ohm, and then a different project before that. But basically a serial rugger is kind of what they're saying. And so there's kind of the word is going around that Zebec is going to be doing a similar thing. I'm not sure that I particularly believe that, but again, it's hard to say for sure. In crypto, I feel like everything is smoke and mirrors. You either have some people who are telling the truth, and then you have some people who have a vested interest in sowing FUD and all this type of stuff to either scoop lower prices, or maybe they have shorts open. It's hard to say for sure. So of course you do have to be doing your own research. It's paramount in this crypto space, just because there's so much going on and there's so much information out there, and some of it's true and some of it's not. So you really have to be making sure that you're doing your own research and that you are kind of staying up to date with this type of stuff. So again, whether the allegations are true or not, of course, time will tell, but usually you don't want to be on the bad end of that trade. So if we go back and we take a look at the Zebec chart, we can actually see it's had a decent bit of a sell-off here. And this is why I throw a little bit of caution onto some of this FUD that we're hearing, is because usually, again, this is just usually how it tends to happen, when we've seen a prolonged period of selling to the downside, that's usually when the FUD tends to come out, which I find quite coincidental. I think, maybe this is people that are just mad that they bought the top here and they're now down, 50% or whatever. So, this is something that I would say, maybe exercise some caution on. Just to make sure that you're not kind of getting carried away with some of this. Just because usually when the price does go down, and again, as we've talked about this in the last video when we were discussing Zebec, we still have not hit on the lows the highs of kind of these previous runs prior to this most recent one. So from a structure perspective, it's looking totally fine. There's nothing here that screams concern, at least up at this point so far. Now, if we do start to break below this support kind of at this 0021 range, then yeah, maybe we have some issues here. But at least for right now, I mean, it's looking just fine. And so, that's kind of the other problem too, is it's like you have to figure out, what's FUD and what's actually just like the truth. Maybe something underhanded is going on here. But at least for right now, I haven't actually seen anything that indicates to me that anything underhanded is going on. But again, you of course need to be doing your own research. I could be wrong. Usually a lot of these things, when they have some sort of rug, or they're scammers or things like that, you don't see it coming, right? Just because that's kind of the whole point of a scam. And so look back at like Terra Luna or FTX or some of these really, really big ones, or even more recently something like Ohm. You don't really see it coming, and that's why when it it sells off and capitulates, it sells off so hard because it catches everybody by surprise. So that's just something to think about and something to consider. I don't actually know for sure what's going to happen, but I think it's fair to say, and as we were talking about a little bit earlier, I think it's fair to see that we're starting to see these projects kind of diverge a little bit. Zebec is of course still above its previous highs. It's doing quite well, but there is a little bit more fear, uncertainty, doubt, things like that kind of creeping in to the ecosystem. Again, these allegations, whether they're true or not, they're being made and they are causing some impacts on the price chart, at least from what we can see so far. And then with Onyxcoin, it's really not really doing much right now until we break out of this wedge. Again, which direction, anything like that, we don't know for sure, but we're about 10 days away from finding out, good, bad, or indifferent. So that's kind of the update that I want to give you today. Overall, just given that we're still in kind of this like mixed to maybe like little bit of a net bearish altcoin environment, these tiny altcoins are really, really difficult to stay in. Obviously, a lot of this is just the churn of the market. We see people making some gains, people get excited, and then of course things kind of start to bleed. We're essentially just waiting for better market conditions to prevail. It does feel like they are getting close, but of course you just never know for sure when exactly they're going to hit. And usually, kind of the night is always darkest before the dawn, because that's kind of when the market turns to flip and it catches most people by surprise. And that's kind of the whole point of kind of all of that. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, a like and a subscribe, of course, does help me out. Also, you can see here, I'm wearing Argentina today. So give me your thoughts in the comment section below about which other jerseys I should be buying or I should be wearing. I have a pretty decent selection, but based on some of the comments I'm getting in the comment section, I'm seeing that maybe I need to be expanding my my collection a little bit further. So anyway, also comments, questions, anything like that, just drop those in the comment section. I do read and reply to all of those, so I do appreciate seeing all the things and the content, the feedback, comments, all that type of stuff that you guys have for me. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.